Pro-democracy protesters are marching in Myanmar again right now. They're braving a violent response from police and military forces like we have seen in recent days. And today's protests come after a night of crackdown. Reuters reporting that security forces raided residential areas in Yangon overnight, making several arrests using curfew as a cover to do so. A human rights group in the country says more than 1,700 people have been detained since the coup last month. Now, we've seen large protest movements elsewhere in Asia too, like Thailand, also in Hong Kong, of course. Authorities cracking down on dissent there as well. Protesters are taking a hard look at China and its dominance in the region, blaming it for their lack of freedoms. Nick Robertson tells us about the fight for democracy in Asia and a warning the report contains some disturbing images.
From Myanmar to Thailand to Hong Kong, across Asia, democracy is under violent attack. Myanmar's citizens protesting the month-old military coup are getting the worst of it. Derek Mitchell was US ambassador there until 2016.
It's very bad. It's crossing a line. It's not as bad, you can say, as 1988, where there was massive killings in the streets, but that's just a matter of a slight degree.
International condemnation has followed.
We need an end to this indiscriminate violence.
Instead of listening, Myanmar's military is doubling down on its aggression. So Asia's youth are turning to themselves for help. An Asian pro-democracy movement, styling itself the Milk Tea Alliance, is reaching across borders.
You're seeing it play out in real time in places like Hong Kong, in places like Thailand, and now you're seeing it spread to Myanmar. And it's quite remarkable. They're now working in solidarity with one another.
Over the past year, it's grown from angry netizens criticising China's Communist Party to coalescing around the unified need to challenge autocracies. Its name is a poke at mainland China, the local style of regional milky teas as symbols of cultural identities that are distinct from their massive neighbour.
It really gives China a lesson to learn that where they want to isolate Hong Kong people, we can always find ways to garner more support.
Law, a Hong Kong activist, now in exile in the UK, sees the Milk Tea Alliance as a potentially powerful weapon for Myanmar's unarmed activists too.
The military is afraid of the influence that the younger generation brings and the global attention.
In Hong Kong, Myanmar and Thailand, activists all now share a three-fingered Hunger Games-style salute. But it is a measure of the alliance's infancy that same-day protests organised in Australia, Taiwan, Hong Kong and Thailand in support for Myanmar's residents missed major coverage because Myanmar's military killings were so brutal, they dominated the headlines. Even so, the Milk Tea Alliance may have a future, one that could be a worry for China's authoritarian leaders.
I think China does feel that liberal activity anywhere can be problematic for them, which is why you see them trying to shape a world that's more illiberal.
We really need a global response to the decline of democracy and to fight against the rise of authoritarianism. So I guess that is a clue for us for how we approach democracy in the future.
For now, in Myanmar, bullets, not words, rule the day. Nick Robertson, CNN, London.
These police are firing rubber bullets at pro-democracy protesters in Myanmar. The protesters are hiding behind homemade shields, as you can see here. In other cities, police are using tear gas on protesters, but that's not stopping the demonstrations, which are taking place after a night of crackdowns. Reuters reports that security forces raided residential areas in Yangon overnight and made several arrests. Now, women in Myanmar are taking active roles in this fight for democracy, proving they are not afraid to face down security forces. Women have a lot to lose if the country is governed by the patriarchal military junta. The New York Times reports that hundreds of thousands of female teachers, garment workers and medical workers are marching every day. Women are also being killed in these protests. One of the most recent was a 19-year-old whose English name was Angel. Women are marching unarmed and unafraid, wearing ball gowns to fight for the future of Myanmar, as you can see from this very powerful image. Well, Mimi Winbird is an adjunct fellow at the East-West Center. She joins me now live from Honolulu in Hawaii. Lovely to see you. You are Burmese American and you served as Lieutenant Colonel in the U.S. Army. So why have women in Myanmar become warriors in these protests?
Aloha, thank you for having me. Yes, these women are the result of 10 years of democracy and 10 years of opening that they have experienced. Because traditionally, Myanmar women have a very stereotyped role in the culture. But last 10 years, their eyes have been opened because the country was open, and a lot of our international aid always had a component of women empowerment. So we're seeing the result of it. So not only they feel that this the protest and the political arena is relevant to women. They now also have the capability and ability to participate and lead in this protest, which is different from previous protests.
What's also interesting is they're unarmed, they're certainly defiant, and also they're using their femininity in many ways to challenge these generals. As I was saying a little bit earlier, one of the powerful images, and there have been so many of these groups of young women coming out in formal dresses, in ball gowns, staring down men with guns. They are unafraid.
Right. Well, they are utilizing their femininity to the as a strength. And some of the women are saying that we, as future mothers, have the responsibility for the democracy in Myanmar. So they are equating motherhood and being a mother as a leadership quality. And so that's one of the interesting things that coming out of this.
Yeah, it's very inspiring. And of course, it's not just about the future, and it's not just about losing hard-won rights, but they've also lost a female leader in many ways, in Aung San Suu Kyi. So what else do you think is the end game here? And do you think there's a sense of optimism that these women feel like they can stare down the junta?
Well, they are. They are very courageous, they are very committed, and they are very creative as well. And so there are certain part of this protest that is different from previous. So they do things like CDM, right? Civil disobedience movement. That is something different. They have, especially the teachers, when teachers and professors are leading their students. And when you talk about teachers and professors of the university, 80% are women. So when they are out there leading, there's mostly women. So yes, also, of course, Aung San Suu Kyi, right? They had a great role model in Aung San Suu Kyi, and they call her mother. So they now associate being a mother with being a leader. So, and they're very committed to their cause, and they truly believe that they can do this.
You mentioned teachers, but there's certainly been a diversity to this protest movement. It's not just teachers, it's doctors, garment workers, a lot of the unions banding together. How important is that?
It's very important because that's what is going to lead them to success, is that diversity of participation and the commitment of this. You know, I would say that Myanmar is currently at the front line of global fight for democracy. And these women are at this tip of the spear of this fight.
The tip of the spear, I know in the New York Times article, somebody said that women are adding spine to this civil disobedience movement. We're also seeing the youngest of the youngest, one woman in particular whose English name was Angel, killed. She's also, and many of these women are willing to die for this, even though they are not mothers yet. How are these martyrs and the martyrdom of these young women also playing into the anger and the defiance?
I think that it's added to more commitment. Every time someone is killed, instead of being afraid, what I'm seeing is they're more committed to the cause. And they just don't want to go back to the dark days of, authoritarianism, military regime before. So they really are very committed to democracy, and they are willing to fight for it.
Thank you so much for joining us. Mimi Winburn, really appreciate your perspective. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day.